So I think making some of these hard decisions are what I think the next generation of founders and product builders and company builders are going to have to think about. So I think, like, talking to CROs out there that are saying like, hey, there's somebody that wants to, like, the budget for inbound, somebody that wants budget for outbound. And then we've got the product guys saying, hey, we'll do product led and get leads, and the product will sort of automatically sign people up and so on. So and a CRO's got to allocate budget between these three things. And I think the one thing the CRO need to start really deeply thinking about is that inbound, outbound, and product. While yes, when you do outbound, it does need investment in email infrastructure, sure. But when it comes to inbound and product, these are really not significantly separate investment channels. All of this orchestration, whether it's product orchestration, inbound orchestration, or outbound cold emails going out based on hopefully signals, they all need to happen from the same identification system, like I spoke about earlier, and the same journey system. So the same customer journey system, the same sequencer, the same orchestration system, the same user 360, and it needs to be in place for all of these three motions. Why? Ask yourselves why, other than the fact that, I'm the founder of Intent Technology, the Growth OS provides this solution out of the box. But other than that, why should they be out of the same system? Because when you email someone outbound, they will not reply to your email. They will notice your brand. They will notice your title. They will notice your message. They may not reply to your email. They might then look at you on a social feed. They might follow you, and they might consume your content, and they might come in looking like an inbound lead a few weeks later. When your product, and they might sign up for your product, they might sign up for your newsletter, they might even have seen your product in some kind of a product-led, powered by type of motion, and they might click on it and sign up for your product. And now this lead suddenly looks like they've got an outbound touch, they've got an inbound touch, they've got a product touch. These three touches should be on the same system, and the next email that you send them, or the next SMS that you send them, or the next phone call that you make to that lead has to have knowledge from all of these three systems baked into an LLM that understands what should you say in that phone call or that email or that SMS. This is now table stakes, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something that is science fiction. This is absolutely table stakes. And this is really, really healthy way of doing marketing. So inbound, outbound, and product are not three different channels. They may be three different channels, but they certainly should not live in three different data silos, and certainly should not live in three different orchestration silos. You should not have your cold emails going out of like an Instantly or a Smart Lead, and then you should have your inbound being managed by a classic marketing automation system like a HubSpot or a Salesforce, and then your product nurtures going out of your product directly embedding like a SendGrid or some other type of technical system that your product engineers prefer to use to do product nurture. Right? This is not, I think, the way of the future. It is one orchestration system and one customer data system that underpins all interactions with the customer, all the lead. The metric that you need to look at, especially if you're an SLG SaaS company, by the way, that cares about product adoption, you need to look at your activation metric. So the metric that proves that the customer installed and used the product successfully to solve a problem, and therefore has a lower chance of churn in a year or in a month or whatever your renewal term is. So they actually got to their aha moment. They actually realized that this product is going to work for my business and this was not a wasted expense, is the metric that's going to move. And if you believe that that metric is a leading indicator of strong ARR growth or annual recurring revenue growth, then you're going to be a happy camper, Mr. and Mrs. CRM. That's about it. Yeah, actually, it's a good question. So, I think it's intuitively really easy to understand. Even technically, it's really easy to understand why having these systems together is valuable for the business and is going to lead to a better outcome for your pipeline. So why aren't companies unifying these systems? I think the reason is simple. Honestly, is because even the most sophisticated SaaS companies, they're used to running outbound with an agency. It's typically a cold agency that runs outbound. Now wonderful companies like Instantly and Smartly are changing that by making outbound accessible to the average marketer. But I think they've traditionally been run by agencies, and they've had to run these massive email infrastructure systems that are very complex to run for in-house teams. And so outbound always lived in its own universe. Now, inbound was an interesting beast. Salesforce and with its Pardot and Adobe with its Marketo had locked up a lot of the inbound automation market, and HubSpot as well. They had locked up a lot of the inbound automation market where they would score the lead with MQL and, send these inbound newsletters, and they'd kind of locked up the lead inside of that system, and a lot of that persisted in the market. So you've got Salesforce, Marketo, Salesforce, Adobe, HubSpot running these inbound systems. And that was kind of another practice that the marketing team, in-house marketing team did do. So you had outbound with an agency, you had inbound with a traditional marketing team. And then frankly, the product nurtures, that is locked up in the product team. The product team chose whatever email sending infrastructure they like, whether it was, Mailgun or SendGrid or Mandrill or Amazon SES. And sort of they kind of went off doing their own thing with the product infrastructures. And so I think there's a shot at which the inbound and the outbound in the product world all come in-house into a SaaS company, and they take full control of their pipe. And I'm certainly a big advocate of that. And if any founders out there listening, any CEOs out there listening, that you've got a mess on your hands with your outbound, and you've got, inbound running in off to the side, and your product teams are sending the activation emails inside of a silo, these practices have lived in different worlds with different leaders for good reason. They had different fundamental problems they were looking to solve in their silos. And you wanted to fire outbound agency, right? It didn't work out for you, right? So I think that's where we are today, but times are changing. Go-to-market is 10x harder now than building product, because we've got so much AI help in building product that we're going to have distribution become 10x harder. And so I think making some of these hard decisions are what I think the next generation of founders and product builders and company builders are going to have to think about.